Let's bring in Texas Senator Ted Cruz, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator, were you stunned to see President Biden take it up a notch?
You know, unfortunately, I wasn't. We've seen with Joe Biden a politicization of the Department of Justice, a politicization of the FBI, and a weaponization of the federal government. This Biden White House has handed control of their agenda over to the radicals, over to the extreme and the socialists. Remember, this is the same president whose Attorney General, Merrick Garland, sent a letter to the FBI directing the FBI to target parents as domestic terrorists. This is the same president, this is the same Department of Justice that is keeping peaceful protesters from January 6th in prison, is refusing to answer questions about solitary confinement, is devoting their resources not to actually going after bad guys, but to trying to target and punish their political opponents. And it is wrong, and it's profoundly dangerous.
We keep hearing how President Biden was going to bring the country together. Oh, by the way, I'll bring it together, but you're evil and the worst extremist in American history. That wasn't a mistake. He makes plenty of mistakes. That was deliberate. Don't you agree?
You know, I do, but I will give Biden a little credit. He has managed to unify the country. Everyone agrees he's doing a terrible job. Everyone agrees inflation is skyrocketing. Everyone agrees crime is a problem. And I don't know if you saw the Washington Post a week ago. They said they discovered the sleeper issue in this race is illegal immigration, that nobody knew, but somehow 2 million people crossing illegally, suddenly the voters might care about it. It is ridiculous how bad this administration's been.
Well, you're being called out, and I guess me too, because I'm really interested in who the leaker was for the first time in history. You used to work at the Supreme Court as a clerk. First time in history leaking out a decision before it was even done to the public, causing these riots. But you are evil for doing that, and I guess so am I. Listen to The View.
A lot of Republicans are pearl clutching.
Yeah.
They seem to be much less concerned about what the document says about taking a woman's rights away and more focused on who leaked it.
I'm so much less concerned with who leaked this than what was in the leak. And I think Republicans and conservatives have been working for 50 years for this. And now they're playing victim. Now they're crying out, who leaked it? Who leaked it? This is what they have wanted. And I think our reaction needs to be, who cares about who leaked it? We care about what was leaked. The Supreme Court is politicized.
Who cares who leaked it?
You know, what we saw with this leak from the Supreme Court, it's the culmination of a multi-year campaign by the Democrats to politicize the courts, to politicize the justice system, to weaponize it, to attack the Supreme Court. You opened the show by showing the rioting both with regard to this leaked opinion and also the entire year of Black Lives Matter and Antifa riots. The left is bound and determined to tear down the institutions of our country, to destroy the Senate, where they want to end the filibuster and blow it all up, or to destroy the Supreme Court. You know, Chuck Schumer stood on the steps of the Supreme Court, called out two justices by name, and he said, if you don't vote the way I want, you will reap the whirlwind. He threatened them. And we have seen this. Look, it is difficult to overstate how destructive it is to the Supreme Court, to the independence of the judiciary, to the integrity of the court, to have a draft opinion leaked during the process of deciding the case. In over 200 years of our nation's history, that has never happened, and there was one woke little left-wing twit who decided to hell with his or her obligations to the justice they work for, to hell with their obligations to the court, to hell with their obligations to the rule of law, that they would instead try to sneak it out in order to put political pressure on the justices and intimidate them into changing their votes. It is shameful. And look, I'm glad that Whoopi is back on TV after having to step off for a while for her anti-Semitic comments. But you know, maybe she should recognize that destroying the Supreme Court and the rule of law, that's not nothing. That actually is what protects our liberty in this country. but today's left doesn't believe in individual liberty.
Senator, real quick, I got two quick topics. One, having said that, you know there's about 260 people working at the Supreme Court. You know a marshal's in charge of investigating. From what you know, from the leads that you may have, do you think we're going to find out who it is?
I think we have a very good chance of finding out who it is. If you look at the court, it's actually a very limited universe of people who it could be. The only people that have access to the opinions are the 9 justices and their law clerks. Each justice has 4 clerks, so that's 36 law clerks. And there are a handful of clerical assistants and secretaries who might have it. I think the chances are 0 that it is a justice. I cannot believe any justice would be part to such a grave betrayal of the institution. I think it is a law clerk, and I think it is very likely a law clerk for one of the 3 liberal justices. That means there are 12 likely suspects. And listen, the fact that we have someone willing to be unethical and break the law does not mean that we've got a master criminal at the court. I think they're going to have left a paper trail. There are going to be emails or texts with the reporters. We're going to find this person, and when they're found, they're going to be fired off on the spot. They will be disbarred if they're members of the bar, or they will never be admitted to the bar to be a lawyer. And to the extent they've broken criminal laws, they need to be prosecuted and sent to jail.
And probably be a columnist on the Daily Beast or a commentator on MSNBC. Senator Ted Cruz, thanks so much.
Thanks, Brian.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.